This is Life with Psychic Suzanna on 1110 KFAB. Helping you find emotional, spiritual, and physical balance. What does your future hold? It's time to find out with Psychic Suzanna.
This is Life with Psychic Suzanna on 1110 KFAB. You can always find us at PsychicSuzanna.com. You can also go to KFAB.com and find all the latest information you need. You can also go online and listen to us on iHeart anywhere in the world, because if you're in Europe, where our guest comes from tonight, you'll want to listen to it also. His name is Andy Tomlinson. He is a writer, a regression therapist. He's written a few books, one called Healing the Eternal Soul and Exploring the Eternal Soul and Transforming the Eternal Soul. So it's all about the soul. Welcome, Andy, from the other side of the world. Welcome to KFAB in Omaha, Nebraska.
Hi, I'm really delighted to be here and an opportunity to talk to all your listeners.
Okay. Now, the first thing I want to know is we're going to be talking, you're a past life therapist, which is regression therapist, correct?
Well, certainly regression does include working with past lives, but it just goes a lot further than that. When we can talk a little more to the viewers about past lives, and there are a number of people who are highly skilled who do work with past lives, but it's really around regression is about taking a client's problem and going to the source of it, which may be in a past life, or it could be something that occurred in this life.
Okay, so regression therapy really covers everything, correct?
Yes, that's a very good way of putting it.
Okay. Now, out of curiosity, has everyone had a past life?
Well, everybody that I've worked with that's had to go into past lives has had them. I mean, I'm sure that because souls at some point do evolve and have their very first lifetime, there are going to be some people around who won't have had any past lives. But certainly people that get drawn to the therapy that I offer find that past lives is often the source of a lot of the problems that they're going through in the current life. So by examining the past life, it helps them get a different perspective, almost like a spiritual perspective, and it helps them unstick where they are and move on to have a much more rewarding life. Okay.
Why do we reincarnate? What's the story there? Can I have a past? Yeah. Can I have a life and decide not to come back, or do I always come back to learn? Tell me about that.
Well, the information I'm going to draw on has really been pioneered by a wonderful American called Michael Newton, who's investigated in deep hypnosis several thousand people in the between life stage, which answers a lot of these questions. I mean, this is an area where I work as well, and I can talk more about that later in the show. But just to answer your question, why do we have many lives? It's really because we all have a part of a spiritual nature. Sometimes people call it a soul. It's an aspect of source, or some people refer to it as God. Quite what they want to call it doesn't matter, but it's that aspect that's within all of us that is down here to experience and grow. And where we come from the spirit realms, where we go to afterlives, is a place of unconditional bliss. It's a wonderful place to be, but it's not really a place to grow and develop. And the place to do that is in the shell of a human body, and to experience emotions and different situations, and through that, spiritually develop and grow.
Out of curiosity,
really when souls aren't able to achieve what they want in one life, Maybe for some reason they're not able to complete, or maybe they die before they've completed all their lessons. So another life is chosen to complete.
Does everyone have to come back? I mean, like, say someone's having a miserable life, and they just want to die. They just want to die.
Yeah.
And they don't want to come back. Does the soul make them come back? What is that soul? Tell me how that soul decides.
Yeah. Well, this is a very good question, because this is probably one of the hardest areas for souls to work through in the spirit realms after a life is when there's been a suicide, or perhaps when people just give up on life and they just don't engage in life in a meaningful way, and perhaps after a few years they die. And it's viewed out in a very compassionate way in the spirit realms, but of course it's almost like someone who's gone into a schoolroom exam and flunked the lesson or flunked the exams, that sooner or later they really have to come back and be given some extra tuition so that they can get through that exam and then move on to the next step in the school curriculum. And it's a little bit like that on Earth, really, that souls could be given a number of choices. They could perhaps come back in the next life and have a wonderful life materially, perhaps in a loving family, close to nature, so they can really appreciate life. And then perhaps the next life they can take on that difficult aspect that was too much before. Or maybe they choose to do it slowly, progressively over a number of lifetimes. So remember, the eternal part of us is simply that. It's eternal. Okay. So how many lifetimes people choose, or how many lifetimes souls choose, doesn't really matter. It's really up to them. It's often when souls are very keen to grow and develop at a faster rate, sometimes when they're even advised, that these sort of problems occur. But I would just say to anybody who's feeling that they're having trouble with life, or it's becoming overwhelming, that have actually got within them an eternal part. They've got within them the creator of the whole universe. There's an incredible power to draw on. And what they're probably going through is an inability to actually tune into that wonderful part of themselves, or to perhaps see things from a spiritual perspective.
Okay, we're going to take a little break. I'm afraid we've come up against a break. We will come back with Andy Tomlinson. He is the author of several books, Healing the Eternal Soul. We'll be right back. This is Life with Psychic Suzanna on KFAB.
Life with Psychic Suzanna on 1110 KFAB.
This is Life with Psychic Suzanna on 1110 KFAB. You can always find us at psychicsusanna.com or KFAB.com. This show will be going up on air on the web on Tuesday after the show. Usually our Scott gets it up there. We are talking to Andy Tomlinson. He is with regressionacademy.com. He is calling us from Europe, and so the phones might not sound good, but it's a lot of ways to go over that water. Welcome to the show, Andy.
Hi.
All right. Now, Andy, I must tell you, when I do my appearances, and one of the things that I believe is that we all choose who's going to be in our life with us. So, like our mate may have been our son or our daughter, that we all reincarnate with the same group of people. Do you see that as being true? And if so, why do we forget our past lives?
Yeah, those are very good questions. Not only do I believe that as well, but the experiences people have who choose to experience their soul memories between lives using deep hypnosis is that souls often operate in groups, and a lot of the planning in lives are done in groups. Mm-hmm. And one of the other things you mentioned, which I think is incredibly important, and it's worth reminding all of you, is free will. Everything in the universe operates on this principle of free will. It operates on the principle of free will when souls are planning which colleagues that they're going to reincarnate with and what lessons they want to go through and learn. And, you know, in the soul memories that people experience, often souls are really enthusiastic about coming down and having these experiences. And the other principle is when souls are on Earth, they have free will equally. But it may be that there's a certain element of the situation which has been pre-created by them as a soul. So that, for example, the parents will have been chosen, the type of home situation, the culture, and also embedded within them at a soul level will be meeting certain people who are going to come together to provide learning. So, for example, one person may come over and be quite a powerful person, and the other person would experience being a victim. Or it could be one soul chooses to come down as a child who dies at a young age so that the other person can experience grief. And it's these soul contracts that souls have when they come down. But in human form, we have a lot of free will in the situation. So, you know, if someone is in a position where they're feeling they're being a victim, and they may be a victim with a parent or with a husband or wife, but this will have been pre-planned, and it's for them as a soul to discover they've got within them the ability to actually break the pattern.
So you're saying that before we choose life, we choose the lessons we're going to learn?
Yes.
And we choose the people that are around us that we will learn them from. That's what I tell my clients, but that's hard to see. So we have no memory of this. I mean, that's the problem. Does regression therapy help you get a memory of what these people are in your life, why this person you're married to is so abusive to you, or why you are suffering? Does regression therapy help you understand that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the first thing is that a certain level of the experience is actually remembered when we're born. I mean, there's certainly been a lot of children who spontaneously tune into past lives through the wonderful work, for example, of Ian Stevenson, the professor in parapsychology at the University of Virginia in your country, has worked with thousands of children who've had spontaneous past lives, and he's gone through that and recorded the detail of them. In fact, this is probably one of the richest pieces of informational research that can be seen to prove that at least some people have past lives. But, you know, and at some point, the memory of those lives disappears. But certainly, if we came into this life with the memory of every life we've had in the past, you know, it could be that in one life we've been a perpetrator. You know, we may have gone around killing, pillaging, raping, and so on. It's not very helpful for a child to suddenly have all those memories.
It wouldn't be helpful for
a blank sheet.
Yeah, it wouldn't be helpful.
Only tune into those memories when it's going to be of a help to them working through the life lessons. And this is what past life therapy is very good at doing. But the other aspect that is included in all the work that I do, and that is allowing people to tune into their soul lessons. I mean, for example, it may be someone who was badly abused as a child, and it may not be a past life related to it. So by enabling them to go back into those childhood memories and then re-remembering the soul contract they had with the parents or childminder who was perhaps abusive, is transformational, because it enables people to actually understand that it's often either them that's decided at a soul level, or certainly they will have agreed to it. And it enables people to forgive much easier. And forgiveness is one of the most powerful things we can do as human beings. It's like just letting go of old patterns and being able to move on. And I think this is the power, that this knowledge is available when people need it. And that's how the sort of work I do fits into the therapies that people can undertake.
Now, how does the medical association work with this? What does the medical world, the doctors, the people in the white coats, which, trust me, I have my caution with, what do they think of all of it?
Well, this is a really good question because, of course, this does vary from country to country.
Well, you know what? We're going to take a break. Young man, Andy, I need to take a little break, and we'll come back, and you're going to tell me about the medical therapy, what they think about it, and then we're going to have you tell us how we can find you on the Internet, and when I understand you're coming to the United States. I'm looking forward to that. We'll be right back. This is Life with Psychic Suzanna on 1110 KFAB.
Life with Psychic Suzanna on 1110 KFAB. She knew I was going to say that.
This is Life with Psychic Suzanna on 1110 KFAB. You can always find us at psychicsuzanna.com. You can go to KFAB.com. You know, anywhere in the world, and that's what you need to do tonight, because we are talking to Andy Tomlinson. He is the author of Healing the Eternal Soul, Exploring the Eternal Soul, Transforming the Eternal Soul. It's about the eternal soul we're talking to Andy. And in the last, I left him with a question last time about what does the medical field feel about this regression and this kind of past life therapy?
Yeah. You see, traditionally, it's worth remembering that medical people predominantly focus on physical symptoms, and traditionally, certainly in the West, the training has been about using physical procedures to alleviate that, and the use of pharmaceutical drugs has become particularly part of that training.
Right.
And so a lot of medical people aren't actually trained with an awareness that there's actually causes for a lot of things that the medical people really don't understand what causes it. They just know some of the medication may reduce the symptoms. You know, a good example is irritable bowel syndrome, where someone has a pain in the stomach. There's physically nothing wrong with the stomach, so they're given some sedatives to reduce the level of pain, where often what happens, if you go deeper behind it, there's a relationship problem or issue, and if you resolve the relationship problem, the irritable bowel syndrome will disappear. So it's been a little bit harder in some countries, for example, Brazil and India, where spirituality is much more widely understood. It's been integrated in the medical profession for quite some time, and quite a lot of medical doctors in both countries are trained in both complementary methods, spiritual methods, as well as the traditional ones. But times do change. I remember when I first started, traditionally, medical people wouldn't really look at any form of psychotherapy. Their view was it had to be treated by either medication or some sort of a surgery. But at least now the medical profession, certainly in the UK and America, accepted hypnotherapy. And they've certainly accepted cognitive behavioral therapy. So there's a mood of changing. I think where there's a little bit of difficulty about them moving forward is as soon as the word spiritual is mentioned, because they assume it means something religious. And, of course, that's not true, because having a spiritual awareness is absolutely nothing to do with religion, because religion is about certain ways in which people practice their spirituality.
All right, tell us, Andy.
Things change, though. I mean, I'll give you a lovely example.
Okay.
One of my graduates in Singapore is one of the leading surgeons in one of the hospitals there. And he realized for some time that all he was doing in a lot of cases with clients was symptom reduction. So he was trained in hypnosis and regression therapy and started to use it and was just amazed how many physical problems that were non-responsive to traditional medicine were being resolved by it. And in fact, so much so, he practices now in his hospital, and he's written a wonderful book called Healing Deep Hurt Within. He's called Peter Mack, Dr. Peter Mack. And this book is about one of the hospital staff who had a very, very deep trauma which was causing them to go unconscious, become suicidal, very, very depressed. And he resolved it all within 2 weeks using hypnosis and regression therapy. And his book is a living testament to the medical world, how by embracing a spiritual and psychotherapy approach, that there's ways of treating people without having to resort to very expensive pharmaceutical drugs and all the obvious side effects that are caused by them.
Thank you very much for being on air with us from all the way from Europe. Now, you're coming to this town. I liked the book you sent me because it showed a lot of case studies, and I love that. This is Andy Tomlinson. He is from Europe. He's a regression therapist. He has the books, Healing the Eternal Soul. You can find him at regressionacademy.com. Is there anything else you want to tell us before we hit the road?
All I would say is the main thing I'm actually doing in the United States is to train more people to do this sort of work. If anybody finds it's resonating within them, just have a look at the website. The training is done in California, just near Los Angeles. It's quite easy to find because it's a location. It's a wonderful residential setting, quite close to the airport. Have a look at the website, and if it resonates for you, come along and do the training. You know, we need to get this sort of work out now to as many people as possible, because doing things the old way is really for the past. It's time now to embrace all of the best of spiritual and psychotherapy practices, and to enable clients and people, instead of being treated for the symptoms, to actually enable them to work through
Find the core, you bet your booties.
And engage healthy and happy and rewarding lives.
All right. Thank you again for being on with us from Europe. This is Andy Tomlinson. God bless. Have a great day.
Thank you to you and all your viewers.
Thank you, Andy. Bye-bye. That is right. You're right where you need to be. This is Life with Psychic Suzanna on 1110 KFAB. You know, you can always find us at PsychicSuzanna.com. You get a free question. You get the schedule. Yes, I'm in town this week. You can find it on KFAB, but you get a free question. So please send me a question if you'd like. Don't do it on Facebook. I want you to be my friend on Facebook. It's Susanna Stickney and Life with Psychic Suzanna, and we'll let you know what's coming up on the radio shows ahead. When it comes up, we send you out a little email letting you know what's up. Join us at KFAB for all the latest news, weather, and sports. Don't you love knowing when the traffic is on? Now, this show is just centered around you and around your life, giving you answers to the questions you have now and some of the questions you're going to have later. You'll think back and say, I remembered when that person said that on Life with Psychic Suzanna. It's really great. If you're looking for the job, the last two guys of guerrilla marketing for job hunters, awesome, awesome stuff. You know, there's always change ahead, and we always have to be prepared for change. We're taking your calls. We're going to answer your questions. Our number is 402-558-1110 and 1-800-543-1110. Wasn't that interesting about reincarnation? And this is Guy from British Columbia who joined us on the phone. Right now, I'm going to take a call from Brad first, but